Y'all, Wizard101 just added some super awaited elixirs into the crown shop, and they're so unique that we have to talk about it. So if you open up the crown shop and you go to the elixir tab, what you might notice that there's two new sections. There's group elixirs and there's world elixirs. Now, these are both entirely new concepts in Wizard101 that have just reached live round, but I thought we would start with the world elixir. Now, there's only one in the crown shop right now, but it's super awaited because this is the start of what I assume are many world elixirs being added to the crown shop. Now, this is the first time we get to see the actual price. 15,000 crowns is what they arrived at. And basically the way these elixirs would work, as long as you're done with the final quest of the world before Celestia, you can essentially skip Celestia. Now, considering that a level 50 elixir, an elixir that gets you through the worlds of Wizard City all the way through Dragonspire, is 30,000, I do think that making a Celestia elixir, which is basically 1/5 of the number of worlds the level 50 elixir is, it's half the price. That seems like a crazy markup. That being said, Celestia also takes quite a bit longer than, I want to say, most of the other worlds in the first arc. So I guess it's more of like a time for crown situation, but it is kind of crazy because I honestly thought this would be closer to like 10,000, maybe even less. Is this worth purchasing? Honestly, I would say this is actually a very good world elixir to consider out of pretty much all of them. And that's kind of why it's annoying that it's priced so highly, but there's a gigantic difficulty spike right when you enter Celestia, right? You get introduced to an entire new set of stats like critical and block. And because critical and block to the inexperienced player can literally decimate you immediately, like having a way to skip it and have immediate access to crit and block gear that's meta at level 60, that's kind of OP. So I can actually imagine this being quite a popular purchase, not just because you save time, but because you actually gain a lot of power. Now, do I recommend buying this? Obviously, I wouldn't recommend buying any world elixir unless it was on a super discount, because at the end of the day, you know, if you could be asked to do it, why not do it? But what I'm wondering is, are they going to do 15,000 world elixirs for all of the worlds in Arc 2? Is that not what we're going to expect? I mean, they made a whole tab for world elixirs. It's not asking for a lot for them to add every single world to this. And I'm wondering what the prices will look like. See, if 15,000 is how much Celestia is, and they marked it up so much, are Arc 2 worlds all going to be this price? Or is Azteca and Chrysalis going to be more expensive because they take longer? These are the real questions. My intuition tells me that they're going to put a standard price per world in an arc. For example, based on the price of the level 50 elixir, the standard price of each world in the first arc seems to be around 6,000 crowns, right? 5 worlds, 30,000 crowns. So I think they're probably going to do a similar thing for every Arc 2 world. I think every world elixir should be around this. It would be kind of weird to change that pattern, mainly because it's already so expensive. Now, I think world elixirs in general, they open up this debate of whether this type of stuff is good for the game. Obviously, it's just a paid to progress type of model, meaning you can take your time with it and you're not hurt because you did it. It's just a save time situation, which is why I don't think anyone has a serious issue with it. But I do think it hurts some parts of the game, which is, you know, like when you see a max wizard, you kind of know they've put time and effort into it. It's almost like a flex. So if they keep adding these world elixirs, is there really going to be much of a flex to being a max level anymore? And is it a bad thing if that flex is gone? Who knows? Things like flexing your level is probably a relatively like minor thing in Wizard101, but I do think things like the max level in Wiz should still mean something. It should retain value. It should show that you've put some time and effort into what you've done. And hopefully world elixirs don't ruin that. You know, I think there is something special about being in the comments and seeing a max level and seeing something to aim for. And I hope being able to just completely cheaply pay your way through it doesn't ruin that image. Now, the other big addition today are the group elixirs. Once again, when we saw these in test room, we did not see the price for these. And the price, in my opinion, is literally why you should ever even consider buying these, right? So the idea of these is that if you're in a group and someone buys one of these, I assume everyone in the group gets it. And some of these are crazy generous. For example, the Perot's Potion, a normal Perot's Potion is 399 crowns. So if you're in a group with 4 people and you buy one of these, you're almost getting everyone a Perot at a quarter of the price. That's like kind of a crazy savings, and honestly, Perot's just makes you spend more energy because you'll hatch your pet, reset your timer, and then keep spending energy training your pet. So I feel like they're trying to make the Perot's Potion into what is sometimes called a loss leader, and I think it's a good strategy because it just gets more people involved anyways. But this is one of the best incentives I've ever seen to train in groups. If you aren't doing this already, like, you know, being in a group at, you know, for whatever reason, this might be another reason to be a part of a group, just savings like this. Now, what about the other elixirs? I think that's a good question. I feel like the hatching elixir, it seems to not follow the pattern of the pros. It's also 500 crowns, which is the price of already like 3 hatching elixirs. You only break even on, you know, making this a good purchase if you have 4 people in a group. And I think once you start needing 4 people in a group, this starts feeling a little inaccessible. The good news is you can hatch every egg with gold. You don't actually need crowns to begin with to do that. So I feel like this one probably worth avoiding compared to like the pros. They also weirdly, as a change of like, I don't know, scenery, I guess, they added a group crafting elixir. Now this is also a huge save. A normal crafting elixir costs 250 crowns. So if you have more than 2 people in a group, you break even on this as well. Now, what might be the use for crafting elixirs? Honestly, if you're doing anything together, like, you know, in guilds, I feel like that's like a really good application for it. Sometimes you need to make some school azot, and you need to, you know, like, you need a bunch of people to reset their crafting slots. And honestly, you don't even need to be crafting in a group for this to be worth it. Maybe, you know, you're friends with a few people, and you could all see yourself using a crafting elixir at some point in the future, and one person can buy basically one for everyone in the group. And finally, probably the most unique elixir that I've ever seen, it's a group energy elixir. However, it only adds 100 energy to everybody. Now, what I find very odd about this is it seems like the normal standard price for this would have been 1,000 crowns, which is the price of 4 full energy elixirs, but it's marked down to 750, which is the price of 3 energy elixirs. Now, here's the thing, right? If I were to buy an energy elixir at 130 energy, then yes, maybe I would have some sort of incentive to join with a group and have everyone gain 100 energy, right? But the second I put on my energy gear, the math changes quite a bit. One energy elixir at 250 crowns is worth 236 energy to me. Why would I want a group energy elixir that only gives me 100, not even half of my full energy glow? So the price is a little weird. Now, keep in mind, groups don't have to be limited at 4. I believe you can get 6 people in a group. So that means, right, if you have 6 people, like, you know, and you buy this, you basically are buying 600 energy for the price of 3 energy elixirs. If you had 3 people, like a set of 3 people with max energy gear, and they each bought themselves an energy elixir, though, the rate that they get the energy for crowns is better. So this seems to be the only elixir that doesn't really do a good job of incentivizing doing something in a group, which I feel like is a little bit, I don't know, it seems a little bit on purpose. And the reason is just the fact that energy is like a very premium currency, seems like, in Wizard101. You can use energy to do a bunch of side activities, and energy elixirs are also the least able to get for the player. Like, you can't do, like, you can't lend pets and craft energy elixirs. You can barely even do events to get energy elixirs. So it does seem like energy elixirs are once again being treated quite differently than other elixirs. Is that because they don't want to lose all the money they make on energy elixirs? Probably, and honestly, that's not the stupidest decision ever. That being said, the other elixirs, especially the pros and the crafting, I would highly recommend trying these. I feel like if you have an actual need for either of these are extremely good prices for things that otherwise would just be more expensive. I kind of like that they're adding even more incentives for doing stuff with other players. I feel like Wiz has kind of been underrated in the fact that they've kept on doing that recently. You get rewards for pet lens. That happened relatively recently. If you're in a full group and you're doing PvE and, you know, there's 4 people in the sigil all in a group, you're guaranteed to go first as well. That's another huge advantage that you get for playing with other players. And it seems like now, even in your purchases, doing it with others is being pushed on the player in a way that benefits everybody. I think the group elixirs are definitely W's. I think the world elixir is maybe more of a mid update, I'll be honest. But I'd love to hear y'all's opinions. Do you guys think that they should add more world elixir? What do you guys think the price of these should be? And what do you guys think the prices of these, and what other group elixirs would you like to see them add to Wizard101? Kind of a crazy update, not gonna lie. They also did some stuff to PvP, so I won't be streaming it. So turn on noties and drop a sub. I look forward to reading all of y'all's opinions in the comments. As always, drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new, and if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome, y'all. See y'all soon. And yeah, y'all.